when I interviewed with Herb Kelleher to go to Southwest Airlines, and I was the head of marketing at United at that point, and I went down to Dallas, and Herb and I interviewed out at the old Hyatt Hotel, which has since been torn down and rebuilt. And I said, I really like what you all are doing. You started this scrappy little airline 7 years ago. You're starting to make money. You're not very well organized. There are no systems. Computer systems do not talk to each other. The original vice presidents and all were all mainly good old boys from Texas. But they were entrepreneurs. And they followed Robin King's idea that we can start a successful little airline in the state of Texas. So I said, you know, it'd be kind of silly for me to leave the world's largest airline to come down here to the world's smallest airline if you're not willing to continue to innovate and change the way the game's played. And Herb and I had nothing in writing. We just shook hands that day. And the thing that really I liked about Herb is that he had his shoes off under the table when I was interviewing. And I looked, and he had holes in both socks. And I thought, that's my kind of guy. And we had great chemistry in the 3 years that we were at Southwest Airlines. So that was my challenge. I was the second CEO. I had nothing to do with starting it. I take no credit for it. And I just admire what they all did with very few resources. But there were three things that we had to figure out. We had to put a vision down on paper. They were doing it all from the back of the envelope. We had to figure out what business we were really in. And this is no different than what the College of Wooster was doing. And then three, what's the value proposition? What gets people to put up with no seat assignments, no first class, no interlining of tickets and baggage, no. And that's where the people come in. And if you can do that, the vision, the business, and the people, then you can begin to see innovation hatch out of this. And Peter, you have a great challenge just coming here from the state of Oklahoma to make that creativity and innovation happen in the APEX program. And APEX stands for
Advising, Planning, Experiential Learning.
Advising, Planning, Experiential Learning. Thank you. So, what business are we in? When we went off and wrote the vision for Southwest, it came to all of us. It took us a day and a half to write the little vision statement that I'll show you in a minute. But we figured out we weren't an airline. We were in mass transportation. We were a cattle car. You know, that is a totally different kind of business. You got to be highly productive, have low fares, have low costs, frequent service, safe service, clean airplane, friendly people, create an experience that people say, you know, they don't do a lot of stuff, but what they do, they do it well. And you understand what the value proposition is before you ever buy the ticket. So then my challenge after that was to get that vision statement on paper and get it into the fabric of the organization. And Simon also said this, which fit right in. You can sell a product or a service, you're just a vendor or supplier. But if you can sell a vision or experience, now you can develop a brand. And that's what we were doing. We were developing a brand. We really didn't know we were doing it at that time years ago. I'm convinced you can build a brand out of anything. We lived in Chicago 3 different times, and we became Chicago Cubs fans all of those years. And I know that causes you to question our judgment. But Krista and I and our daughter Sue, we still go down to Mesa in the spring and go to a couple of spring training games. And about 8 or 9 years ago, we noticed this one fellow selling beer, big tall guy. It turned out he's 6'8", he weighs 273 pounds. And his name is Mark. I don't even know what his last name is. But I was fascinated that he was selling probably 3 to 4 times as much beer as any other vendor. Just 2 plastic buckets with bottles of beer in it. But he's hugging the wives, he's hugging the kids, he's taking the pictures, he's throwing peanuts behind his back. He's doing all kinds of crazy little things that just attracted the people over. So I went over to him when he wasn't busy finally and introduced myself. And I said, I'm just curious, how do you do this? He said, oh, here, I give you my card. And he does one every year. This is the 2012 card. He plasticizes his card. He's got a website, and you can go to markthebeerguy.com, and you'll find it. He even autographs them, and then on the back it lists all of his career highlights, what World Series game he sold beer at, or hockey game, whatever it is. And he's making $150,000 plus a year selling beer. And his beer is the same as in everybody else's bucket. But he created a differentiation in his service, in his culture, and then he innovated through his own mind and his own creativity to set himself apart and to be different than anybody else. So the little vision statement that we came up with, there it is. That was written 32 years ago in Dallas, Texas. And it's only 52 words long. And I had a college professor tell me one time, that's the worst mission statement, vision statement he ever read. He said it's not too strategic, it's kind of tactical. And he said it's actually not very well written, grammar-wise. And who wrote it? And I said, I did, after we all agreed on what the vision was going to be. But I said, doesn't make any difference. It works. It's simple. The people can understand it. And those of you who have companies that haven't gone through this exercise, I highly recommend it. Because once you get it down on paper, then you got to take it all the way through the organization. I spent 40% of my time the next year doing nothing but one-on-ones, one-on-twos, one-on-threes with pilots, flight attendants, customers, Wall Street, whatever, getting that little vision in the fabric of the organization. And one of our board of directors said one time, you really think you ought to be telling the whole world what it is you're going to do? And I said, absolutely. I want them to know what our brand is, what our niche is, and where we're going. Because I don't believe the Americans, the Uniteds, the TWAs, and all those other airlines that are no longer around, I don't believe their egos and their complicated cost structures and their complicated aircraft plans, I don't think they can adapt to what we're doing. And this is pretty simple. And what we want to do is we want to get people out of the living room. We want them to take more trips, go see the grandkids. We want to get them out of the automobile. We want to compete with the automobile. And we priced it so we could make it more affordable for you to fly than you could to drive. You create a value proposition that the big guys are not willing to amend their formula to try to match with. And Southwest today, when they go into a new market, within 12 to 18 months, they will double the size of the market, double the number of the people that are flying in lots of these smaller communities around the country that they have been taking on in the last few years.